Om. Gurur-Brahma, Gurur-Vishnu, Gurur-Devo Maheshwaraha, Guruhu Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnantimirāntasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Pushpanjalim samarpaya Shri Shri Guru Kamal Charanebhyo Namaha. Slowly and gradually we will open our eyes. Jai Gurudev. So let's get started. So a very good, warm, good evening to both of you. This is Archana, a Sanskrit teacher, and I also take my classes on Bhagavad Gita and multiple Sanskrit scriptures across globe. Just now I have completed my session with Russian friends upon Prajñā-Pāramita Hridaya Sutram, a very renowned Sanskrit scripture, which is popularly read in China and Taiwanian countries, So we have just completed that. So what will I be doing is, I will continue from where we left the day before yesterday's class. I was in my mom's place, so there were a lot of technical glitches. Internet was not working, so I could not continue my classes properly the way it was expected to. Finally, I'm back to home, and now the class will be unobstructed, okay? So with this note, let's begin the session. Are we all ready for this? Bonnie? Okay, so I gave you some homework to all of you, that you have to decode who was the Dronacharya, Bhīṣhma, Kripācārya, and then Ashwathama, Vikarna, because we already know that they are the great warriors who has joined the army troop of Kauravas, okay, against Pandavas. So we'll have to search about them, their historical background, their educational perspective, the reason why they joined Kauravas, why not Pandavas. So we need to dig into the, realities, what made them join the Kauravas, okay? So in that sequence, we have completed till Shlok 9, okay? And then we have to continue with Shlok 10. Are we ready, Bonnie? Okay. So let's continue. Say all of you. Aparyāptaṁ.
Aparyāptaṁ.
Very good. Tadasmākaṁ.
Tadasmākaṁ.
Balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam.
Balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam.
Paryāptaṁ.
Paryāptaṁ.
tvidameteṣhāṁ.
Tvidameteṣhāṁ.
Balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam.
Balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam.
Now, since the Pandavas and Kauravas are against each one of them, they are facing each other in the battlefield of Mahabharata. So Duryodhana, the cunning king Duryodhana, is critically evaluating the situation of those prominent leaders under the leadership of whom both the troops are functioning. Okay, so the troop of Pandavas were functioning under the leadership of Bhima, and the troop of Kauravas were functioning under the leadership of Bhīṣhma. So the Bhīṣhma team leader was, the Kauravas team leader was Bhīṣhma, and the Pandavas team troop leader was Bhima. So who one is superior? Who one is the one who is superior to each one of them? The one who is inferior. Their competency is now being critically evaluated by a very cunning king Duryodhana. So are we ready to understand the process of evaluation which Duryodhana does. It has been elaborated through Sanskrit shlokas. Let's understand. Are we ready, Bonnie? So it says that, see all of you, aparyāptaṁ,
aparyāptaṁ,
tadasmākaṁ,
tadasmākaṁ,
balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam, balaṁ, the power which is protected through Bhīṣhma, who belongs to asmākaṁ. Our troop is aparyāptaṁ, is something which can never ever be obstructed, which is ajaya, where the victory shall follow no matter what. So he's pretty confident about the leadership of Bhīṣhma, under the guidance of which, under the guidance of whom the Kauravas troop is running. He says that aparyāptaṁ tadasmākaṁ balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam. Bhīṣhma was a great warrior. He was also a senapati of Kauravas. And since he was so competent that Duryodhana was quite sure that since it is guided by, the troop is guided by Bhīṣhma, thereby our warriors are going to win over. Aparyāptaṁ tadasmākaṁ balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam. On the contrary, he is also evaluating the competency of Bhīma, under the leadership of whom Pandavas, the troop of Pandavas are headed. The troops of Pandavas are led. So it says that, see all of you, paryāptaṁ,
aparyāptaṁ,
tvidameteṣhāṁ,
bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam.
balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam.
On the contrary, the troop which is Rakshitam, which is protected by Bhīma, who is belonging to Eteṣhāṁ, who is belonging to their side, that is also equally competent. So in terms of competency, both of them are matching the similarity, is matching the equanimity, is matching the similarity. No one is inferior and no one is superior. You know, the troop of both the team is well protected and preserved by Bhīma and Bhīṣhma. Bhīṣhma from the side of the Kauravas and Bhīm from the side of the Pandavas. Making sense to everybody? So this shows the critical evaluation of that king whose name is Duryodhana. And all these narration he is giving to his professor. His professor is Dronacharya, Professor Drona. Okay? So is that making sense? Can I proceed? So it says that aparyāptaṁ tadasmākaṁ
aparyāptaṁ tadasmākaṁ,
balaṁ bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ
bhīṣhmābhirakṣhitam,
paryāptaṁ tvidameteṣhāṁ,
paryāptaṁ
tvidameteṣhāṁ,
balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam,
balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam,
paryāptaṁ eteṣhāṁ balaṁ bhīmābhirakṣhitam. Moreover, you know, then the next sloka is ayaneṣhu cha sarveṣhu. Ayaneṣhu cha sarveṣhu
sarveṣu,
yathā-bhāgamavasthitāḥ,
yathā-bhāgamavasthitāḥ,
bhīṣhmamevābhirakṣhantu,
bhīṣhmamevābhirakṣhantu
bhavantaḥ sarva eva hi.
bhavantaḥ
sarveṣhu.
Thereby he is assuring, Duryodhana is assuring the Dronacharya and his related troop. What assurance does he give? That be assured, because rest of you are well protected under the guidance of Bhīṣhma. Bhīṣhmamevābhirakṣhantu. May the supervision of Bhīṣhma provide protection to the troop which is belonging from the side of the Kauravas. Bhavantaḥ sarva evahi. May all of you receive proper protection from the side of the Bhīṣhma, under the leadership of whom the troop of Kauravas are running. Because ayaneṣhu sarveṣhu yathā-bhāgamavasthitāḥ. Thereby, what has to, wherever you people are located, keep taking the charge of that location, because you are well protected and preserved under the able guidance of Bhīṣhma. Rest assured. Okay, so he's giving confidence to the troop of the Kauravas that even if on the contrary, we have got a great opponent called Bhima, but Bhīṣhma is no less. And since this troop is headed and guided by under the supervision of Bhīṣhma, wherever are the warriors and wherever are the troop, they are well protected, well preserved, nothing to worry. Is that making sense? That is what has been communicated by Duryodhana to his professor Acharya, whose name is Drona. Okay, so say all of you, ayaneṣhu cha sarveṣhu.
Ayaneṣhu cha sarveṣhu
yathā-bhāgamavasthitāḥ.
yathā-bhāgamavasthitāḥ
bhīṣhmamevābhirakṣhantu.
bhīṣhmamevābhirakṣhantu
bhavantaḥ sarva eva hi.
sarva eva hi.
Next slok. This is clear to everybody?
Yeah.
So as a king, Duryodhana is communicating to his professor and rest assuring that the troop is well preserved, well protected under the guidance of a competent leader whose name is Bhīṣhma. So even though how strong the opposite team is under the leadership of Bhima, our protection is rest assured. Okay? So that is how he's functioning as a king. Then Duryodhana says that tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
Tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpavān.
śhaṅkhaṁ pratāpavān.
This is really strange when I'm looking at the shloka from the perspective of a Sanskrit teacher, from the perspective of a human being, and from the perspective of someone who is peace-loving. The characteristics of these warriors are somehow dicey, in my opinion. So let's understand how. You may agree and you may not agree, you may disagree. But let me present my point of view. How do I disagree? So let's understand. Are we all ready for this? Pam? You're looking so pretty, Pam. So let's start. So say all of you. Tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
tasya
sañjanam harṣhaṁ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ. This Bhīṣhma was pitāmahaḥ, was great grandfather. Pitāmahaḥ is a Sanskrit word which means a great grandfather. Okay, and he was not even only a great grandfather, he was another attribute of the Bhishma is kuru-vṛiddhaḥ. He was one of the most matured person amongst Kauravas, not only in terms of age, but also in terms of experience. Thereby, kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ bhīṣhmāh, what he did, the most experienced, matured person of the Kaurava, the great grandfather of the Kauravas, Bhishma, what he did, that is something is putting me in a very dicey condition about the very characteristics of Bhishma. Let's understand. So this is sarcasm. Kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ, the great grandfather and the most matured person amongst Kauravas, what he did, that is something very important. Tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ, for the sake of happiness of Duryodhana. Sañjanayan harṣhaṁ, for the sake of creating harsha, enthusiasm, happiness. Tasya sañjanayan, created. What he created? siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ. He created siṁha-nādaṁ. He blew the horn. He was blowing the horn for the sake of happiness, for the sake of creating enthusiasm in the personality of Duryodhana. And who was doing that? Kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ, the great grandfather, the most matured one amongst Kauravas, that is Bhishma. And what is my point of difference is here is that Bhishma, being such a mature person, how can he act? How can he act upon the silly happiness, irrelevant happiness of his own cunning king, Duryodhana, who is nothing but a great grandson to him? Isn't it that alarming? Isn't it worth questioning? Any reader will question that. What kind of personality he has? How can he, first of all, be the part of this destruction? And that too, how can he approve and nod to become the leader of this destruction? Moreover, how can he be so flattering for Duryodhana that for his happiness, he's blowing the horn so that the Duryodhana could be filled with enthusiasm. Isn't it, Bonnie? It is almost like Pamela is approving differences amongst me and Bonnie. Being such a kuru-vṛiddhaḥ, being such a matured person in the class, she's approving the differences between me and Bonnie. Let the differences be created. Let the differences get more and more expanded. What kind of pitāmahaḥ he was, what kind of great grandfather he was, when he can approve and nod upon such destruction for the humankind, you know? So it says that tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
Tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
Kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpavān.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpavān.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau. He blew the horn. That pratāpavān, the most great pratapi. You know, pratapi means the one who has so much of history of austerities behind him, who is one of the most matured person among Kauravas, and who is the great grandfather, that is Bhishma. śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau, blew the horn. And for what? sañjanayan harṣhaṁ, in order to create the harsh, happiness in the mind of that Duryodhana. Look at the dependency. On one hand, he is pratāpavān, kuru-vṛiddhaḥ, pitāmahaḥ. On the contrary, he is so dependent, as if he has lost his discretion, as if he has lost his motivation, and for the sake of creating happiness in the mind of that cunning Duryodhana, he is blowing the horn. And that horn's name was siṁha-nādaṁ. He blew the mystical sound, siṁha-nād, for the sake of happiness of the Duryodhana. There is no doubt that the one of its kind of human destruction has happened through Mahabharata, because it was, being loaded with such so-called mature person like Bhīṣhma pitāmahaḥ, Dronacharya, Kripācharya, this and that. Right? So, the slok says that, say all of you, tasya sañjanayan harṣhaṁ.
Tasya sañjanam harṣhaṁ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ.
kuru-vṛiddhaḥ
pitāmahaḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ vinadyochchaiḥ.
siṁha-nādaṁ
vinadyochchaiḥ.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpavān.
śhaṅkhaṁ dadhmau pratāpavān.
Yes. Can we move?
Sure.
See, and that too. Yeah. The next shloka is tataḥ śhaṅkhāśhcha bheryaśhcha.
tataḥ bheryaśhcha
paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ.
paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ
sahasaivābhyahanyanta.
sahasaivābhyahanyanta.
Sabdastu mulo bhavat.
sabdastu mulo bhavat.
So when kuru-vṛiddhaḥ pitāmahaḥ was blowing the horn, after receiving motivation from his mystical sound, when he blew the horn, others also started blowing their horn. In earlier point of time, an earlier period before the war used to begin, they had that instrument, musical instrument, heavy musical instrument, which used to declare the war, right? So it used to be śhaṅkha, it used to be bherya, mridanga, and there were multiple musical instruments, which there were multiple musical and heavy instruments which used to declare the war. So tataḥ śhaṅkhāśhcha, bheryaśhcha, paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ. Multiple musical instruments other than saṅkha in the name of paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ, bherya, and they started blowing, and sabdastu mulo bhavat. They manifolded the voice in the battlefield. Okay, so the others also started blowing the horn. That has multiplied the voice in that war atmosphere. Is that making sense to everybody? So say all of you, tataḥ śhaṅkhāśhcha bheryaśhcha.
tataḥ śhaṅkhāśhcha bheryaśhcha
paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ.
paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ.
You are chanting so beautiful, Bonnie. Why are you muting yourself?
Oh,
sahasaivābhyahanyanta.
sahasaivābhyahanyanta.
Sabdastu mulo bhavat.
sabdastu mulo bhavat.
Yes. Then tataḥ shvetair harair-yukte.
tataḥ shvetair harair-yukte.
mahati syandane sthitau.
mahati syandane sthitau.
madhavah pandavaśchaiva.
madhavah pandavaśchaiva.
Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatuhu.
Divya Śhaṅkhaṁ
Pradadmatu.
So when those musical instruments, as if they are declaring the war in the battlefield, started blowing from the side of the Kauravas, then the Pandavas also did not keep quiet. What did they do? Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatuhu. They also declared the war from their side by blowing the divine Shaṅkha, divine musical instruments. Okay? Pradadhmau, and they declared the war from their side. Who are those? Madhavaha, Krishna, and Pandavaschaiva, and all those Pancha Pandavas along with their troop. Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatau. They blew the divine Shaṅkha, divine noise, as if they are declaring and reciprocating the voice which was created against them by the Kauravas. Making sense to everybody? My God, you know, this small-mindedness, where it has taken the human being. Where are we all landed up to the problematic situation called Mahabharata because of these so-called great warriors like Bhīṣhma, Drona, Duryodhana, pitāmahaḥ, Kripacārya. That is why their characteristics and historical background, educational background is worth experimenting. When you to experiment that how can a Kripacārya be like that? How can a professor entertain negative thoughts? How can Bhīṣhma, who is great grandfather, can lead the negative vibration in the name of Duryodhana? They are the characteristics who are worth researching. We need to do experiment upon them. Isn't it, Bonnie? It reflects that there was no meditation at that point of time. Isn't it? That is why, yeah, Bonnie.
Just so I've never actually read this part before. I think I've always joined a little bit later where Arjuna's in the picture. This is the background for the war. Am I understanding? Yeah. Okay, so this is how the war
came. The background for the war, yeah. Okay. And now, tataḥ shvetair harair yuktai. Thereby, tataḥ means thereafter. Shvetair harair yuktai mahati syandane sthitau means in that battlefield. Syandana means battlefield. Those warriors from the side of the Pandavas on their white horses, and they were Madhavaha, Krishna in his white horse, and Pandavaha in their respective white horses. Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatu, blew the divine Shaṅkha as if they are reciprocating against the voice which are created through Kauravas. They are replying them back. Okay, so it reflects that they are not going to step back just because your voice is much louder. If you can create much louder voices, we too create much louder than what you have created. So it is reciprocity, right? So say all of you, tataḥ shvetair harair yukte.
Tataḥ shvetair yukte.
Mahati syandane sthitau.
Mahati syandane sthitau.
Madhavaha Pandavaschaiva.
Madhavaha Pandavaschaiva.
Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatuhu.
Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatuhu.
Very good. Divyau Shaṅkhau Pradadhmatuhu. Can I proceed? Yeah. So which were those Divya Shaṅkha, divine musical instrument, which those Pandavas, including the Madhava, Krishna had? Let's understand. Say all of you. Panchajanyam Rashikesho.
Panchayanam Krishkeshu.
Devadattam Dhananjayaha.
Devadattam Dhananjayaha.
Paundram dadhmau mahashankham.
Paundram dadhmau mahashankham.
bhīma-karma-vrakodaraḥ.
bhīma-karma-vriddhaḥ.
Wow. So these five Pandavas, along with Krishna, they had their individual śhaṅkha, that musical instrument, for them to blow against the Kauravas, and they did it. Vrakodaraḥ. Vrakodaraḥ means Bhima, under the leadership of whom this Pandavas troop were heading. Okay. Why his name is Vrakodara? Vrak means well, and Udar means, stomach. So he was very foodie, and whatever he used to food, it used to get digested, as if the food has gone nowhere. So he was very demanding in terms of his food, So Vrakodaraḥ, Bhima karma. He was always engaged into the heavy action. Bhima, gambhir action. And he blew the shankha, and his shankh name was Paundram. Paundram dadhmau. The shankh which he blew against the Kauravas, the Vrikodaraḥ, Bhima karma Vrikodaraḥ, the shankh name was Paundra. Rashikeshu. Rashikesh means Krishna, the one with curly hair. That Krishna blew the shankh, and his shankh name was Panchajanyam. Dhananjaya had also his individual shankh in the name of Devadattam. So these Panch Pandavas, along with Rashikesha, Madhava, Krishna, they blew their respective shankha and kind of reciprocated against the Kauravas. Making sense to everybody? Yeah. So say all of you, Panchajanyam Rashikesho.
Panchajanyam Rishikesho.
Devadattam Dhananjaya.
Devadattam Dhananjaya.
Paundram dadhmau mahashankham.
Paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ. Mahashankham.
Divyau shaṅkhau pradadmatuhu.
bhīma-karma-vriddhaḥ.
I'm sorry. Bhīma-karma-vrakodaraḥ.
bhīma-karma-vriddhaḥ.
The next is Ananta Vijayam Raja.
Ananta Vijayam Raja.
Kunti putro Yudhishthiraḥ.
Kuntu putro Yudhishthiraḥ.
Nakulaḥ Sahadevascha.
Nakulaḥ Sahasaivacha.
Sughosha Madipushpakau.
Sughosha Manipushpakau.
So Nakul and Sahadeva blew the horn, and the name of that horn was Madipushpaka. Raja Kunti Putra Yudhishthir blew the horn, and that horn name was Ananta Vijayam. So Ananta Vijaya, Madipushpaka, Panchajanya, Devadatta, and Paundram, these five specific shankha was blown in the battlefield of Mahabharata from the side of the Pandavas. Making sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, Bonnie.
They named their horns?
They are the name of the horns.
Okay.
Krishna's horn's name was Panchajanyam. Dhananjaya, that is Arjuna's horn name was Devadattam. Vrikodaraḥ, that is Bhim's horn's name was Paundra. Yudhishthir's horn's name was Ananta Vijayam. And for Nakul and Sahadeva, it was Madipushpaka.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Pam.
I wanted to make a comment, since there are so few of us here, for Bonnie to understand, because this is not, a story that we've heard all our lives in our culture. And I found it very interesting to learn. One of our silence course teachers here said that he had been traveling in India with Guruji, and they went to the location of this battle. And that Guruji just made the comment, you know, not making a big thing of it, but just made the comment that it was so incredibly hot the day of that battle. And so I wanted Bonnie, I mean, that kind of helped me to realize, because many times I've had the feeling that, oh, did this really happen? Or is this a mythological story? You know, as many of these are. But I think it becomes more relevant when we understand, at least according to this story, that this really did happen. It is a historical event.
Okay, so that
it is not mythological. And so then it becomes, I mean, it just almost becomes more important to be able to understand, and more, you know, just more relevant to get the details and understand more what's happening. I hope this is helpful to you. I don't know, but
it is. Yeah,
I found it very interesting, because I struggled with that for many years, thinking, oh, I don't know, is this really happening? Because like you said, naming, you know, giving names to the horns and everything, it's like, who does that? You know, we don't maybe do that now so much, but I guess they did then. And even that's not as important as just the whole idea of why this happened and how it happened, but that it actually
look at the skill of the writer. It is so pictorial, right?
It did happen. So it becomes, I think, far more interesting, I mean, I feel a sense of, like, I need to understand this. I need to know about this. It becomes much more important and relevant. So I don't know. I hope that's helpful to her. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to explain that to Bonnie, because she seems to be, you know, pivotal or important part of this happening. You know, if you're putting out, you know, I don't know, YouTube and all that stuff, I just think, and you're at kind of the beginning of your learning curve in your life. So to understand that Bhagavad Gita was real, it did happen.
Mm-hmm. Now I have another question. Was Krishna a real person?
Yes, he was a real person.
Okay, I wasn't sure, because I looked him up on Wikipedia and it said Hindu deity, so I didn't know. I'm like, did he actually, it was like Jesus, you know, did he actually exist, or are they talking to God, you know?
Yeah, he was a person.
I mean, say something, but I believe that I heard Guruji in a talk say that, yes, Krishna did exist, but, oh, I'm blanking out here. Radha did not exist, but was in his kind of like in his thought process or in his mind. He was real, but she was not. But, you know, when you get into all these discussion of what is Maya and what is not and all this kind of thing, it gets to be a little bit confusing. But am I right, Archana, that Krishna was real? He was
100%.
But that's also why I felt like it was relevant to make this comment that Guruji, in my mind, was Krishna at this battlefield very, very long ago, because he is, to me anyway, the personification of this divine consciousness walking, talking on the planet today, and he's here for us. So it's important for us to listen.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
I hope it's helpful. And that is only my understanding. I realize I could be, you know, I don't claim to be a great scholar, but I think, Archana, you're agreeing with what I'm saying.
Yeah, Pam. I have also heard Gurudev saying that Ramayanam and Mahabharatam did happen. That is why
Yeah.
it is known as itihasa. Means it has happened in the past for sure.
But it's confusing for like Bonnie and I, all of the, I mean, I've never studied this before, but I've studied a lot of like Greek mythology and things. So you think, oh, is this just another mythological happening? But it's not. It was historical.
Mhm. Thank you.
See, what I mean to say that we don't need to get into that, analysis that whether it was myth or real. What we need to understand is the lesson that we are learning through this scripture.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm saying for Bonnie,
Yeah.
just for what? Academic understanding to know, just academic, intellectual. And of course, it's the lessons that are the important part. But I think, I'll just be quiet.
No, please continue, Pam.
No,
No.
that's can I jump in for a second?
Tasha.
I think it's that's a really interesting point. I think I inquired about this before. I definitely kind of resonate with what Arcana said, that even I've studied the Bible a lot, and I think this is I enjoy learning this, what the Bhagavad Gita. But even with the Bible, like I guess there's different perspectives on this, right? But like I guess the progressive perspective that I believe is that a lot of the Bible's mythology, like even the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the witness accounts that purport to be witness accounts or mythology, at least to some degree, But the Old Testament, and take like there's that one, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but there's a story of Job, right? Where like, or the creation story, right? A lot of people, I take the position that it doesn't matter. The creation story did not happen in the way that was said to have happened, but it doesn't matter, because it's really a vehicle to introduce the two main characters in the Bible, right? God and man, right? So it's a vehicle to kind of create that, to introduce the story. It's an introduction. And then there's the story of the book of Job, right? Where there's the blameless man, and then God and the devil get together to punish him, right? To punish him and torment him, to see like if this holy person will curse God, right? And it's not real. Yeah. Like it's not a real story. Everyone kind of agrees that this never happened. But that's not the point, right? The point is how do you explain adversity, right? That's the story. That's the takeaway. The point that it's never happened. It's clearly a myth, right? That the God and the devil did not get together and create all these horrible things that happened to this man. It's just it's a moral. They want to create a fact pattern. They want to create a story to tell a lesson, right? So that's and the fact that it's mythology, like I view the Bible as like sacred stories, right? And the fact that many of them are not true, is irrelevant because it's still the archetype, the cultural archetype. Like I can read the Bible with anyone, right? And we all share the same stories, right? These stories that happen in the Bible or with the Bhagavad Gita, right? People all over the world can share these same stories. So that's what makes them powerful, and the lessons that we get from them. That's how I see it. Thanks.
Wow, Andrew, that's my whole point.
I think that we need, I totally agree with what you said. And historically speaking, like you have to be careful about taking word for, arguing about what was written word for word. Like it depends on who did translations and who did whatever. And so you have to be careful. And at some point you take the lesson, but then you go back into your own heart. You do your own meditations and you think, you learn the lesson. You recognize within yourself what may be real and what may not. So,
all these humanitarian laws or international laws that came into picture, all these genocide and warlike situation that has happened on the planet, somehow or the other, we also had the same mindset as depicted in the scripture. Okay. So obviously, we need to understand the root cause of why the genocide and warlike situation happen across the globe. And what are the preventive measures against these? Okay. So let's understand how it goes.
We
Yeah.
need
Andrew?
to take these lessons and shine as brightly ourselves as possible.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to be the light in the world or in our immediate world as best we can. Apply the knowledge, but apply the highest knowledge, and don't cling to get caught up in, oh, I don't know, like, what did the devil do? I mean, for me, I don't even want to think about that. And I mean, I know evil or bad things happen, but I don't want to put my focus on that.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's not
So-
focus on any negative things. Yes, obviously.
Well, it's not obvious to a lot of people. You say that, and I agree with you, but you know, all we have to do is look around the world and see what's happening, and wow. So we're here to shine. As best
Let's
we
be in
can.
love with Guru. Let's be in love with Krishna. Let's hear the knowledge. Let's be more and more academy, and let's cherish and shine in knowledge
Yes.
together, right?
Yes.
Okay, friends. So we will quickly get back to Akshar Sadhana of all these shlokas that we have covered, and then we'll wind up today's discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So say all of you, Om Shri. Andrew, if possible, you also participate in that Akshar Sadhana, the chanting. Okay.
Where are you starting from now?
The first chapter. I'm
I
starting
know
from
first chapter, but what's
Om Shri Paramatmane Namah from the beginning.
Verse 1.
Yeah, but even before that, Om. Say all of you, Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
I don't
Okay, say Atha Prathamodhyayaha.
I
You don't get it. Atha Prathamodhyaya. Now we are going to begin the first chapter.
I don't have. I'm following transliteration, so I don't have that.
Okay, say Dhritarashtra Uvacha.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Kshetre Kurukshetre.
Kurukshetre.
Samaveta Yuyutsavaha.
Samavāta-yuyuṣhāvaha
Māmakāh Paṇavāṣchaiva.
Mamakaः paṇavāṣchaiva
Ima kurvata Sañjaya.
Imakurvata Sañjaya
Sañjaya Uvacha.
Sañjaya Uvacha
Drashtva tu Paṇavānīkam.
Drasatu paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ
Drashtva tu Paṇavānīkam.
Drasatu paṇavānaka-gomukhāḥ
Vyudham Duryodhanastada.
Vidyodham Duryodhanastada
Acharyamupasangamya.
Ucharya apasangamaya
I lost you for a second there. Can you repeat that?
Acharyamupasangamya.
Acharya
Acharyam upasangayam. I think she's freezing in and out.
Raja Vachanam Abravit. Yeah, I know.
Raja Vachanamabravit.
Pashyaitam Panduputrana.
Pashyam tam panduputranam.
Acharya Mahatim Chamum.
Acharya Mahatim Chamum.
Acharya Mahatim Chamum.
Acharya Mahatim Chamum.
Trena.
Yudhum Drupada Putrena.
I'm sorry, I'm badly frozen. I'll take your leave. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Say
Archie.
goodbye. Om Namah Shivaya.
Bye-bye.
Okay,